I see contractors all over the place doing, which is stopping by unannounced, dropping off a box of donuts and a stack of business cards, right?
One of the interesting things is, again, I see this in our business all the time, right? It's the same routine. People start, quote unquote, knocking on doors, going to insurance offices, and they're doing the exact same thing. I mean, it's really a true example. They're setting up, they're setting up little meetings and luncheons, and buying donuts and coming up with coffee, and it's like, man, like nothing is different there. Like everybody else is doing that too. Like those agents can buy their own coffee. They can buy their own donut. They can buy their own lunch, right? And everybody will take the free lunch, but that's not memorable.
There is a right order of operations. There is a right strategy. There are certain word tracks that are more effective than others. And so if I can put those in place with a client, they're able to skip that learning curve. Like you said, if they go, hey, I want to do this, but I don't want to go make all the same mistakes that you did for a couple of years trying to figure it out, you can jump straight to that process that's effective.
That it's not about resources, it's about your resourcefulness, right? Just going to a simple website, finding the local agents. It's the information is there. One thing that I'm constantly talking about is I'm a big advocate for online marketing, right? Whether that be Google Ads or YouTube, what have you. And people are constantly beating their head against the wall and trying to figure out new and innovative ways. And when we have websites that tell you the blueprint of what the most successful companies are doing, right? So the information nowadays, it's out there. You just have to know what buttons to click on and think outside the box and just go out and do the hard work, right? What's going on, Restoration Nation? Rico Garcia here. Hey, real quick, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, C&R Magazine, which, by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, if you don't have your copy of a physical copy, which by the way is amazing, of C&R Magazine, make sure that you go head on over to cnr.com. Go onto their website. Right on their website, they have a big red button on the upper right-hand corner. It says subscribe now. Doesn't cost you anything. C&R Magazine is one of the oldest publications in our industry. I'm very, very excited to have this sponsorship with them. And by the way, if you've missed the interview with Michelle Blevin, make sure that you check that out. Bottom line is, if you want to stay up to date with what's happening in the industry, make sure that you subscribe and get your issue of C&R Magazine as soon as you possibly can. It's amazing content, and it's also a great way to keep your finger on the pulse of the market. What's going on? What changes are happening in the industry? So head on over to cnrmagazine.com, subscribe now, and get your copy. We also want to give a big shout out to Company Cam, our official sponsor for the show. Company Cam is an amazing organization, something that I use consistently, but we'll talk more about them a little bit later. Talking about the show, though, before we dive into the interview, let me just give you a little bit of what happened on this interview. First of all, we're going to be bringing on Matt Danskin. Matt Danskin is an amazing individual. He's the owner and founder of Restoration Referral System. And what he does is he helps contractors, right, generate more referrals for their business. Now, we all know that word of mouth is a powerful, powerful tool. And when we have referrals from other pros, it's that much more powerful, right? What Matt has done is he's taken something that was pretty obvious, right? That's on the surface, very, very simple and something that anybody can do. And he's packaged it in such a way, in such a system that really gives businesses the opportunity to see explosive growth. So we take a deep dive on this episode on things that you could do today, right now, that could literally start moving the financial needle within just a couple of weeks, depending on how aggressively you hit it. It's a very, very simple system, but extremely powerful. And I think a lot of people discount how powerful the system is because of how simple it is and how obvious it is to some degree. So If you want to learn more about Matt Danskin, you can also go ahead and check out the show notes below. There's a very special offer that we were able to work out with Matt as well. And it's going to be tons of fun. So make sure that you check that out, or you could just head on over to his site, which is Restoration Referral System.com/dominate. And there's something really special for you that he put together for all of our guests and all of our listeners and all of our viewers. So without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hope you enjoy.
Owning any type of restoration business is demanding of your time, your energy, and resources. And that's why we're here. This is Restoration Domination. If you're a contractor in water mitigation, mold remediation, biohazard cleanup, roofers, or public adjusters, you'll learn how to dominate using some of the techniques and strategies that our guests will share. We'll interview top industry insiders, movers and shakers, hustlers and hackers, and anyone dominating their industry. This is Restoration Domination. Hustle, hack, and dominate. And here's your host, Rico Garcia.
Matt, without further ado, man, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us here. You ready to help us dominate today?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Awesome, man. So fill in some of the gaps before we dive into everything. Let us know who you are, what you do, how you got into the business, and fill in some of the gaps on that intro.
Yeah, sure. So like you said, I'm Matt Danskin. What I do is Restoration Referral System. So I focus pretty narrowly on helping contractors create referral relationships with insurance agents. I got started on that. I grew up building homes with my dad as a kid, all the way up into adulthood. And then after going to college, going to school, got thrown back into the construction industry and found my way into the roofing and restoration industry. The stuff that I do now is really just teaching other people the strategies that I was able to figure out for myself to sell more roofs and to do that more efficiently and effective in creating those referral relationships.
So let's talk before we dive into everything that you've done right, because again, it's easy to go ahead and gloat and say, hey, I figured out this great thing and this is what I'm doing and it's amazing. Let's talk about everything that you figured out didn't work as well as you wanted it to work, because I think that those pain points are the same pain points for so many of us business owners, entrepreneurs. And so kind of talk to us about what systems you used to have in place. And then I think that'll be a good segue into what you're doing now and how you're training other people to tap into different lead sources.
Yeah, sure. So, first off, when I started into roofing and insurance restoration work, I didn't know anything different than anybody else. And so I just started doing what I was told. I started knocking doors. We were buying leads. We were doing SEO, all things that are not bad in and of themselves. And I had one insurance agent that was referring me some work. And so I had a little bit of exposure to that, just a guy that I knew as a friend. And so for me, it was doing a lot of things that were somewhat effective, but maybe not optimal. They weren't the very best thing that I could do. And so once I recognized, hey, I really like working on these insurance agent referrals, like I'm going to close them at a really high rate, it came down to how do I replicate that one relationship that I have? And again, I went and started doing a lot of the things that I see contractors all over the place doing, which is stopping by unannounced, dropping off a box of donuts and a stack of business cards, right? Taking them to lunch, sponsoring the golf tournament, doing all these things that will have some level of success. I always like to say, like, any action is going to beat inaction. If you're doing something, you can go stand on a street corner and say, I sell roofs. Eventually, somebody's going to come along and they need a roof. It's going to be more effective than sitting inside your house watching TV. It's not the most effective thing that you can do. And so really it's funny you mentioned, like, hey, what things didn't work? They talk about Thomas Edison with 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. I've tried pretty much every way to approach an insurance agent that doesn't work, outside of straight up bribing them. I've tried the managed repair programs, the TPA programs, which will effectively get you work, but the profitability is going to be compromised. The integrity of how you work that claim is going to be compromised. And so really there was just a lot of trial and error of, hey, maybe I go in and tell them this. I'm going to go tell them that I'm A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and we do really good work and I'm a nice guy. Can you send me some customers? And as you can probably guess, a lot of that stuff is just white noise. That's the same thing everybody else is doing. And so I really had to, fortunately, I think a little bit differently than a lot of people. And so that's kind of helped me out. But at the same time, really just had to try an approach, see what happened, and then tweak it and move forward.
Right. So one of the interesting things is, again, I see this in our business all the time, right? It's the same routine. People start, quote unquote, knocking on doors, going to insurance offices, and they're doing the exact same thing. I mean, it's really a true example. They're setting up, they're setting up little meetings and luncheons and, buying donuts and coming up with coffee. And it's like, man, nothing is different there. Like everybody else is doing that too. Like those agents can buy their own coffee. They can buy their own donut. They can buy their own lunch, right? And everybody will take the free lunch, but that's not memorable per se. So also a quick little side note here, and I want to make this very, very clear. Yes, the majority of your clients are roofers. However, the principles and the strategies that we're talking about, this is 100% usable for anybody in the restoration industry, water mitt, mold, fire, smoke restoration, you name it. If there's an insurance agent, there's a way for you to go ahead and capitalize on that. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, I have, like I said, my network as a roofing contractor is other roofing contractors. And so that's why the majority of my clients are roofing contractors. I have contractors in every one of those other categories that are doing multiple millions in additional revenue this past year because of this stuff. I even have a couple of public adjusters who are clients of mine that actually get public adjusting work from insurance agents using
That's amazing.
our process. Yeah.
So can we dig a little bit deeper into, and obviously you don't want to give away the farm here, right? But can we dig a little bit deeper into what this actually looks like? Can you give some examples on what would be a better way to prospect an insurance agent?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, I don't recommend walking in cold. I think it's a bad approach to just show up at their door and expect to have a meeting with them. We always want to get them on the phone and we want to schedule a meeting. We want to do this as professionals. But really, we employ three different strategies. The first and kind of primary method that we use is what we call organic, which means that any customer that we're dealing with that's not a referral from an insurance agent, we leverage that customer relationship to get ourselves in front of their agent. You have an excuse now to talk to them. You have something to talk about. And so that's one of the most effective strategies that we can do. We also kind of modified that.
So just to dig a little bit deeper into that, basically what you're saying is great. Well, let's say that some of the things that you had mentioned earlier, right? Your SEO, your PPC campaigns, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, whatever your current marketing mechanism is to go direct to consumer, which again, I'm a huge advocate of. For me, that's what I call the bottom of the funnel. And if there's a way for you to use your marketing prowess to get the end consumer to reach out to you, then great. What you're saying is take it a step further. Don't just sign the contract. Don't just do the work and get paid and be happy. Say, hey, look, take a second. They have an insurance policy. Someone sold them that insurance policy. Get in contact with that individual and make that the segue.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like you say, we don't give away all the trade secrets, all the scripts and stuff that we use. But if you even just taking that and saying, I'm going to reach out to the agent of my customers, that's a powerful way to connect up with agents where you have a lot more leverage than if you just found them in the phone book. We also, using a similar type of strategy, we tap into our past book of business. So I had a lot of clients that are like, they're up in Minnesota or wherever up north, and like, hey, we're not putting on any roofs right now in the middle of the winter. How do we go out and do this? So we said, all right, well, you do any roofs last year? Yeah, we did like 500 roofs. Cool. You got 500 customers you can go tap into and get yourself in front of their agent, even if you miss that opportunity right up front. And then last, we do have a cold a cold call strategy approach there where we're calling the agent and we're still scheduling that meeting before we go in there. But really the main things, the reason that all three of those approaches work, because those can get you in the door, but there's still a lot of work to be done after you're sitting in front of them. They've already been approached by other contractors. A lot of times you're not the first guy in their door that day. And so you really have to stand apart. Now, we focus on 6 areas that are going to motivate an insurance agent to refer one contractor over another. And these are pretty universal for any agent that you're talking to, any contractor. And those areas from least important to most important, if you guys are looking to get something out of this podcast and take notes on, this is kind of fundamental to what we do, is if we expect this insurance agent to give us what we want, which is business, we need to give them what they want. And so what they want, from least important to most important, is they want convenience. They want you to be easy to work with. They want you to have integrity. You need to be able to prove that you're trustworthy. They want you to provide good customer service and communication, both to them and to the client. And above all those things, they want you to do good work. You're a contractor. Even if you've got great customer service and integrity and all this stuff, if you don't do good work, that relationship is doomed. And those are really all the things that you're going to do for their client. And those are important. But even above that, number 2, they want to retain the customers that they have. Insurance agents make most of their money on their residual business. And so if you understand what's motivating them, and they're money motivated just like you are, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you can help them protect those relationships, where if they're normally losing 10% of their customers every year, now because they've got a partner with you, they're only losing 8% of their relationships. Well, that's a 2% pay raise that they just got. And that's a huge reason for them to choose you as a contractor over the other guy. And all 5 of those 6 areas are things that are important, things that you should do well, things that you should sell the agent on your ability to do. Ultimately, if you're doing an awesome job and there's somebody else in your market who's also doing good work, they're going to do all 5 of those things pretty well. And if you walk on water, you're awesome, you maybe beat those other guys by 10% in those areas. The number one thing that insurance agents want, do you know what it is, Rico?
No, I thought, honestly, I would have thought that the whole portion of the retention is really where the big value add is. But obviously, there's a lot more. So go ahead.
So, I mean, really, the whole point of this is we can't just be, if we're 10% better than the other guy, that agent's going to keep referring the other guy that he already knows and trusts and has experience with. We need to be 1,000% better. And we don't have room to be 1,000% better in those 5 categories. The area we can be 1,000% better is in providing them new business, providing them customers. And the opportunities are already right underneath your nose all day, every day, when you're meeting with clients that, like you said, found you on Google or were referred to you by a neighbor or a friend. Those people have insurance policies. And those customers represent either an opportunity to get in front of their agent or an opportunity to refer that customer to somebody else. And so the key thing here, and this number one thing of referring them business, is missed by most contractors that I talk to, not even on their radar, because they don't believe that it's something that they can fulfill in a meaningful way. But if you start to take the approach of, I'm going to uncover every one of the opportunities that I have in front of me, and I'm going to capitalize on it as though I was getting paid for it, you can blow the other guys out of the water. And now when you approach an agent and you show them exactly how you're going to meet that number one need of theirs, where every other contractor that they've worked with in the past has failed, that's a reason that they're going to radically change what they're doing. And not only refer you on a list of 3 contractors, but refer you exclusively, because you're actually going to affect their bottom line. You're going to make a big difference in their business. So they want to make sure they get every customer they possibly can to you, because they know that's going to return back to them in new business.
Right. One of the things that I've mentioned several times on this podcast is the importance of how important a referral genuinely is, and what it takes from one pro, the amount of confidence that it takes for them to go ahead and say, hey, use ABC company or use so-and-so. They're a fantastic organization. It takes a lot, because in some shape, way, or form, they're always going to be held responsible for whatever that outcome is. So you can't take that lightly, right? And this is one of the reasons why I think a lot of people don't make referrals, right? Because they don't want to be held accountable. They don't want to be associated with God, who knows what's going on. Whereas one of the things that a lot of contractors overlook is the importance of not just taking the client and doing good quality work, right? Because look, let's call a spade a spade. If you're a roofer, you're expected to put on a good roof. If you're a water mitigation company, you're expected to dry out a property properly, right? These are they're assumed scenarios in business, right? So in some way, it's kind of a commodity. It doesn't really matter. It's assumed, right? However, what's not assumed is how you treat that customer, right? The human element and little things that you can do throughout that process to make the client, make the referral source look like a superstar. And when you're able to pull that off, that changes a huge dynamic, right? Because ultimately, once we have a client on the restoration side, what we want to do is we want to excel so much in what we do, but not only how we did it, but how we made the customer feel, which is a whole other art form, right? The feeling to where they don't even call us to say, wow, you did a great job. Like, we don't want that phone call. The phone call that we really want, the one that we're hunting, is where they pick up the phone and they call the person that referred us and said, wow, that was amazing. Because now that referral source is the one who looks like a champion, right? And the likelihood of them keeping that retained business goes up. So it's a very interesting, concept. But now you're taking it a step further and say, okay, let's do all of these great things, right? Let's have integrity. Let's go ahead and have the convenience. Let's make sure that they're retaining clients. Let's do all of these things. But let's take it one step further and let's hit them where they're going to be really happy about it, and that's in their pocket. Let's make sure that there's something there that we're offering back to them financially, right? So my question is, playing devil's advocate here, is how scalable is that? If you've got, let's say, 20, 30, 40, 50 insurance agents, right? You obviously can't feed all of them. So what's your response to that? Like, how do you get around that?
Yeah. So, and that's a very common thing that I have a lot of people like, oh, okay, like there's no way that I'm going to have enough opportunities. Once you start looking for red cars outside, you see them everywhere. And literally, I get that question all the time. Like, hey, if I have 50, 60 insurance agents, how am I going to give them all a lot of business? And I literally have clients that now have 50, 60, 70, who knows how many insurance agents, and they're sending all of them at least a couple of customers a month. And the bar is so low. These agents are assuming you're going to send them 0 to 2 customers a year. That's literally where the bar is at. And so if you can send them one a month, you are walking on water. You are an absolute hero. And really that's where we set the target. But one a month is not hard. It's a matter of, what we do. Have you ever seen our T-shirts that we have? I should have worn one for the podcast here.
Yeah, I was actually, while you were speaking, I was just going to, my next follow-up was going to be the actual T-shirt that you have, which is, I have two, what is it? I have 2 questions,
it's
right?
2 questions.
Or something along those
Number
lines.
1, who is your insurance agent? And the second question isn't on the T-shirt, which gets people to walk up to you and go, hey, what's the second question? And you get to start a conversation with them about their insurance agent. So we've had my clients get into conversations with people at the grocery store, at the gym, whatever, and find those opportunities. And the second question, so key takeaway for you guys, start asking every single one of your customers who their insurance agent is. If you don't have that information, you're not going to get very far with this. But second, like you said, what's more important is how they feel. So I want to understand what the nature of that relationship is. So I'm going to ask them, what do you think of them? Is question number 2. And that customer either knows and likes their insurance agent, and they're going to have all sorts of warm and fuzzies to tell me about their insurance agent. And I can also leverage that when I go to talk to them. Or they don't know them, they don't like them. Now, that doesn't give me a very powerful connection to go pursue that insurance agent if they don't have a strong connection with their customer. Probably tells me something about the insurance agent as well. But if they don't know or like their insurance agent, I could probably refer them to somebody else, right? And so if you're asking those questions of every single person that you do business with, whether they end up signing on the dotted line or not, you're asking those questions, you're uncovering those opportunities, and you're capitalizing on those opportunities. The numbers are there. I mean, I truly don't believe there's a point that you can scale this to where you can't find enough opportunities to refer back.
So what would you suggest? Like typically what is your, first of all, let's take it step by step. Let's give me an outline of what your program looks like, right? So I'm listening to the show, I'm watching the video, and this is really intriguing. I've never really quite thought about prospecting, right? Insurance agents. Now I'm intrigued, but I know enough that I don't know what I should be doing, right? So what is how does your program get me from just having a concept to actually executing, and how does that laid out?
Yeah. So I have an online platform. We've got recorded content. We've got quizzes you can take. We've got blah, 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 all that sort of stuff, like every training program on the planet does. I'm a little bit different in that I train one-on-one, usually through Google Meet calls or Zoom calls with my clients. We start every one of my clients with a 2-hour long onboarding call, where we go through soup to nuts, the entire process, everything that they're going to do. And we do that as a conversation so that I can answer questions as we go through that. So that by the end of that call, they've got a pretty good understanding of what they need to do to go out and execute on it. You know, I've got about 150 clients nationally, which means I've gotten a lot of practice at teaching that. We've also got a lot of experience back and forth with what works, what doesn't work, on top of what I was doing myself. But we start with that onboarding. We've got the online program to provide more support where you can go in and get some repetition in. But then I provide ongoing live support as well, and that's unlimited. So I've actually had 2 calls earlier today with existing clients of mine who are out there. It's working for them. They're doing a good job. They're like, hey, I had this objection, wasn't sure what to do in this situation. What do we need to do? And we can fine tune and really bring them from being competent to excellent and mastery. So really my goal when I train with a client, I don't put any restrictions on it and say, hey, you get 3 phone calls with me or 5 phone calls or whatever it is. It's unlimited, because what we're teaching, it's somewhat simple. It's not anything you have to be a brain surgeon to know how to do, but there is a right order of operations. There is a right strategy. There are certain word tracks that are more effective than others. And so if I can put those in place with a client, they're able to skip that learning curve. Like you said, if they go, hey, I want to do this, but I don't want to go make all the same mistakes that you did for a couple of years trying to figure it out, you can jump straight to that process that's effective. And that's what we're selling, right? Is being able to skip that learning curve, jump straight to something that's working so that you're not wasting your time making the same mistakes that we did.
Right. And that totally makes sense. So what do you recommend? Like what should a day look like for an individual who's committed and says, hey, you know what, I'm going to start prospecting for insurance agents? Like, should they start compiling a list on Google Sheets and putting all the local agents and picking up the phone, shooting them a call, introducing themselves, sending them an initial media kit and trying to set up an appointment to do that? Or, knocking on doors, which obviously you said just randomly showing up out of the blue probably isn't a good approach, right? Hey, Restoration Nation, real quick, let me just jump in and interrupt this portion of the podcast here. And I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. Now, Company Cam is an amazing company. I mean, I'm sure that you've probably heard me talk about Company Cam several times before on all of my other episodes. Bottom line is, I really enjoy the company, right? It's made my life that much easier. Now, when you're on a project, there's so many things that you need to go ahead and keep track of, right? Not only the project that you're doing, the machines that you're putting down, how you're protecting the job site and all of these other things, but then there's also the secondary thing that you're documenting, which is potential damage to the homeowner's property, right? So it's very difficult to manage all of your photos just on your phone or on a SIM card, for example. Company Cam has put together such an amazing product. Now, I'll tell you, be honest, what sold me on it was my phone wasn't clogged up with job site pictures. Company Cam is a cloud-based software where you can upload and manage all of your projects and all of the photos associated with that projects, including documents. And every single week, it seems like they're adding some new feature to Company Cam. Tons of integrations also with industry-leading CRM systems and project management systems as well. Make sure that you check them out. Go to companycam.com/dominate. So companycam.com/dominate. And we worked out a really special deal just for Restoration Nation, which is 14 days free. So you get to play around with the app, see how well it integrates with your general workflow, see how it integrates with your existing systems. But then if you love the app, which I'm sure you will, if you love it half as much as I will, you're going to go ahead and sign up for the service. You're also going to get 50% off for the first 2 months of service. So it's an amazing deal. Make sure that you head on over to companycam.com/dominate, and I'm sure you'll enjoy. Now, let's get back to the episode. So how much time should someone dedicate to something along these lines?
Yeah. So first off, like I said, we have our 3 strategies for getting ourselves in the door. The organic method really just involves talking to your customers, making a quick phone call after you've met with your customers to reach out to their agent and schedule that meeting. You'll usually spend 45 minutes to an hour in that meeting with the agent to really convert them and sell them. The other approach is if we're doing our past book of business, right, we're doing our cold calling approach, it is still to a degree a numbers game. We find with making those phone calls, typically we're getting an appointment, sitting down in front of them where they're interested in what we have to say about 50-60% of the time. Still pretty solid numbers. By the way, they're organic when we call them. We get in a meeting with them about 90% of the time. So really strong numbers there, but 60% of the time.
Great number.
Yeah, not bad at all. And there's plenty of agents in the phone book to call. You certainly can pull lists. I usually tell people, go to your CRM, look at your past business, go find who were the carriers that were the most profitable for you, the most efficient profit that you had. Go to that carrier's website, click on Find an Agent. Every carrier website has a Find an Agent tab on there. Put in your zip code, and it'll crank out a list of 30, 50, 100 agents for you to call through. Getting their information is the easiest part of any of this. They're salespeople. They want to be found, right? And so, with roofers, a lot of times it's, hey, when you have a rainy day, this is what you need to be doing. When you can't be out there in the field working, this is what you need to be doing. In the mitigation fields, it's a lot more sporadic, right? Like you need to be on the ready to go out and do some work when it's there. But some of the time you're sitting around waiting for that call. And so if you find yourself sitting around waiting, it's really easy just to say, hey, I'm going to make 10 phone calls right now. And whether I schedule 10 appointments or 0, I'm going to make my 10 phone calls today. And consistency is key here. If you go get one agent that sends you 10 deals over the next year, that's cool. 10 deals are, decent amount of revenue. That's not going to change your life. It's not going to change your business. You're going to have to keep adding to that roster so that you don't have one agent referring you. You've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You have 50 agents referring you 10 deals apiece. I know there's probably some big customers, big contractors watching your show, but that'll change just about anybody's business.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So really, and first of all, I really do appreciate the gold nugget, right? Because again, this just goes to show that it's not about resources. It's about your resourcefulness, right? Just going to a simple website, finding the local agents. it's the information is there. One thing that I'm constantly talking about is I'm a big advocate for online marketing, right? Whether that be Google Ads or YouTube, what have you. And people are constantly beating their head against the wall and trying to figure out new and innovative ways. And when we have websites that tell you the blueprint of what the most successful companies are doing, right? So the information nowadays, it's out there. You just have to know what buttons to click on and think outside the box and just go out and do the hard work, right? Because 9 times out of 10, it's just a mental barrier. It's like, I don't know what to do. And that's such a comfortable answer, right? I don't know what to do. I got to wait for my phone to ring, but there's always something to do, right? You can, again, that strategy of just compiling lists of, what the most profitable carriers were, and then getting in contact with those agents. And let's face it, we all have. And if we personally don't have it as a business owner, there's somebody in our office who does, right? We can go ahead and allocate, one of the admins to compile this list. And now all of a sudden you have a new prospecting list. Now, switching gears a little bit, in your process, and obviously our business is very much person to person, right? Like, let's talk to them. They need to hear our voice. They need to see us face to face. We need to shake hands and kiss babies and kind of work that whole aspect of the business. But initial contact, what happens is, even if someone gets motivated, initial contact is easy, right? You can work through that process. Where the fortune is always made in any business is in follow-up, and where everybody drops the ball is on follow-up. And they've dropped the ball for several reasons. Number one, they've got a huge prospecting list and they don't have enough hours in the day, or they don't have any automation in place to get back to phone call 1 through 10 because they're on phone call 1,000. And all of a sudden, there's no energy there, right? Sometimes they're just busy with their business, or, something along those lines. My question to you is, what does that follow-up process looks like to stay front of mind? Is it still a manual effort, or have you put systems in place to help automate anything along the way?
Yeah, so I'm a huge advocate of automating as much of this as you can. We've actually spent the last few months developing a software to help my clients automate that follow-up process. And so we've got about 60 of my clients who are on our waiting list getting onboarded 2 a day right now at this point. So it's a really great place for us that we've got more clients than we can handle getting onboarded into that. Whether you use our process, our system, or another, there's a ton of different ways you can automate marketing, automate follow-up, where you're triggering that. If you go meet with somebody, you better have an automated thing that happens right after that meeting. You better have something to stay in front of them, remind them that you exist. Even if it's as cheesy as a holiday email that goes out or something. We've got some of our clients actually customize their holiday emails that go out to their agents, and they picked 12 random weird holidays like Cheeseburger Day or like whatever, just to stick out instead of, hey, Happy Memorial Day that everybody else is going to fill their inbox with. So some of it is staying top of mind there. If you're in an industry, let me just jump in here real quick, because I think this is really interesting. Yeah, so let me just jump in here real quick, because I think that this is really interesting about, you say, the cheesy holiday cards. When you're having a meeting or when you're meeting someone, right, nowadays, considering the environment that we're in, we typically pick up our phone and we're like, yo, let's take a quick little selfie, right? And you do that. Keeping those initial meeting selfies and keeping them aside and putting them under that customer's file. Those are the same things that you can go ahead and print out. And instead of a cheesy holiday card with like a Christmas tree on it or whatever it is, now all of a sudden you take that initial picture of you and that person that you're building that relationship with, and it just does something funny to the mind. All of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, first of all, they remember who you are. Because again, they may not remember your company logo, but they're very, very likely to remember your face. And more importantly, there's evidence that you guys actually had some brief connection. So thinking outside the box when it comes down to those cheesy things, there's still ways to take it and up it to where the competition isn't quite doing stuff like that. One of the things, I guess, drop another nugget on you here. If you're going to go meet with an insurance agent, you go have a great conversation with them, you think things are going to work out. When you go back out to your truck, before you drive away from that insurance agent's office, pull up their Google listing, write them a thoughtful review, 5-star, hopefully, if you want business from them. And, write them a review. Hey, as a contractor, I talk to a lot of insurance agents, and Joe, really cares about his people, and, it just shows in everything he does. 5 stars. As a business owner, I look at every one of the reviews that I get, and I go, oh, who was that? Oh, okay, yeah, and that's who that was. That is something that you can do for free. It takes you 30 seconds that will show some goodwill to them and actually help their business as well. So sorry that your idea with the pictures just kind of reminded me of that. If you do a review, you could probably post that picture with your review as well.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about the program itself. Obviously, it's got the online component. You've got the onboarding. There's live support and all of that good stuff. Typically, what's the pricing models look like? And I know that you have tons of information on your site, which again, for those of you watching and or listening, it's Restoration Referral System.com. Talk to us a little bit about what this pricing structure looks like moving forward.
Yeah, our pricing is really simple. So I charge $4,800 per company that I work with, whether you need to or not. Most of my clients don't need to. We break that $4,800 into 4 monthly payments of $1,200. Make it even easier to do. And so what happens is my clients pay their first $1,200 and we begin all the training. I don't hold anything back. I don't want to wait for you to pay all your money before I give you all the value and training, because I want you to go out and make money with it immediately. We offer a 30-day, 110% money back guarantee. So all of my clients, when they start their training, they pay $1,200. We give them all the goods. If in that 30 days they're not completely satisfied, a phone call, I'm going to pay them $1,320 back. They don't owe me another penny. They get to keep all the information that I've given them. I haven't had a single customer take me up on that. But as a contractor, I know I've wasted money on stuff that was either not worth the money or an outright scam. And so I'd rather just put the risk on my side of the transaction. And so that's been working really well. It allows people to take that leap of faith and go, you know what, is this really everything that they're saying it is, everything that people are raving about? When you got the goods, you can back it up.
Right, exactly. And making it a no-brainer is what I think is amazing. $4,800, first of all, that's not breaking the bank for any restoration business, whether you're a roofer, water mitt, but it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. $4,800 could realistically be one client, one referral. That's it. And this is something that once you have that information, once you have that know-how, it's repeatable. You get to do it over and over and over again. And like you said, you've got certain clients that have upwards of 50, 60, 70 agents that are referring. So $4,800 to make it even easier, you've broken it up to $1,200, right? And right out of the gate, they're coming off the blocks strong. They've got the info, and how quickly can someone start implementing the new strategies and this new way of generating business?
So I generally recommend that my clients do that onboarding. It's kind of day one, do some onboarding, spend a couple of days in the online program, getting some reps in, and then go start meeting with agents. So that's 3 days. I have had clients that have literally done their onboarding in the morning and then started meeting with agents and successfully closed those agents the same day. And not rock star salespeople, people that are literally brand new in the business, can just take the simple things that we're teaching them, go out and regurgitate it at least halfway what we taught them, and it's still pretty darn effective. So long story to start getting insurance.
If someone
agents
wants to go ahead and pull the trigger on this, they can go to Restoration Referral. Again, this is all singular because I was corrected off camera. Restoration Referral System.com/dominate. And so let me ask you, Matt, putting you on the spot, right? So for the people that are listening to the show, watching the show, if they go on to Dominate, Can you give them a little extra? Can you do something special for them? The people that are watching, that are being intimate here with us, can you sweeten the pot for them a little bit?
I can. So we hadn't really talked about this too much ahead of time, but I've got the automation tool that I was talking about there with you. We're rolling that out right now. And what I've done is I've grandfathered all of my existing clients in on that and given them free access to that tool. We actually, a couple of days ago, drew a line in the sand and said, no more. If you want that tool as well, you have to pay the monthly fee for that tool. I will extend that, and we're doing this in a couple of rare instances here till the end of the year. January 1 is going to be a complete line in the sand, but we're going to grandfather our clients in and provide that for free. So if you get in before January 1, you're not going to start getting billed on January 1. You're grandfathered in, and you'll get access to that online tool completely for free. It's
in automation in business, automating anything that you possibly can in business is a must, because that's how you could really take things and scale it. And, again, just multiply your efforts, because again, if you have to be pounding the same numbers and sending out the same emails and all of the same stuff over and over and over again, it just really eats away at your day. So having automations and systems in place is really what you want, man. So again, for those of you watching, listening, go to restorationreferralsystem.com/dominate. Matt's going to hook it up. And again, look, I'm surprised at the pricing myself. I mean, he and I did not discuss pricing off camera or anything like that. And $4,800 is really just a drop in the bucket. That is one WaterMit project. That is one referral source, and that's it. So if you do nothing else but get one referral, I mean, the thing just pays for itself. And then above and beyond that, Matt's putting kind of his money where his mouth is and saying, hey, look, 100% risk-free. If it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, it's not. No harm, no foul. I mean, again, it's a no-brainer. And I think that more people in our side of the industry, the WaterMit, mold remediation, fire, smoke, we need to start implementing a lot more of these strategies that clearly have been working so well for other people in the industry. So Matt, besides the website, if someone wants to go ahead and connect with you personally, what's a good social media outlet for them to go ahead and reach out to you at?
Facebook's always easy for us to connect up with. LinkedIn, if you're on that instead of Facebook, either of those are good platforms. If you just want to watch some funny, crazy stuff, check out our TikTok, Time Traveling Roofer. And, those are the best ways to reach out. There's one thing, Rico, I was just thinking about as you're talking, I wanted to mention, if that's all right. And that is, in terms of developing business, I know in the flood and fire mitigation, there are a lot of TPA, managed repair program tech contractors where that's where they're getting the majority of their business. And really, personally, I kind of feel like it's a deal with the devil, where you're saying, hey, I'll roll over for you. And I'll take whatever price you want to pay, as long as you keep giving me this work. This is a way not only to avoid that, where you're working like a dog for minimal profits, but even more than that, you can target and cultivate the most profitable carriers to work with. And so even if you're doing, other types of lead generation where you're working with them as a retail customer, if you can target just those customers of good carriers that are going to pay the claims more quickly, more fairly, I'm not expecting perfection there, but that's the difference between carriers that are going to fight you tooth and nail to pay you out at a 35% margin compared to carriers that are just going to come out and stroke a check for 60% margin. And so the amount of time that you're putting in and the amount of money that you're left with after all the bills and taxes and commissions and everything are paid is so much more.
And that's a phenomenal point, right? Is again, taking what's out there and just not taking it as gospel, right? Just because business has been, maybe you started the restoration industry and when you first got introduced to it, it was all TPA work and that's all you knew. When you branched out, you figured, hey, this is the way to do business. But the reality is there's tons of different ways for you to go ahead and expand your business, right? Whether that's focusing on cash pay jobs or referral systems or whatever the case may be. And really, you should not be relying on one source. You should have as many lines in the water as you possibly can if you want to get your business from wherever it is that you are. Maybe you're, 0 to 500K. Maybe you're 1 to 3 million. Maybe you're 5 to 10 million. Bottom line is that there's always little things that you can tweak, new lines in the water that you could start exploring and building your business. And this is a system that I think a lot of people could really, really benefit from. And I'm super impressed by it. I think that, what you've put together here is absolutely amazing. So again, Matt, thank you so much for jumping on the show. We appreciate your time. And again, I'm going to leave a notes in the video description with all of the contact information, guys. Restoration Nation, if you want to get in contact with Matt, you know where to reach him. Make sure that you jump on board. He's giving us an amazing offer moving forward. And Matt, again, thank you so much, brother. We appreciate your time.
You've been listening to Restoration Domination, interviewing the restoration business's top industry insiders, the movers and shakers, the hustlers and hackers. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on Instagram. Find Rico at Rico Garcia Jr. Find Ecotech Pro at Ecotech Pro. And check out the YouTube channel at Ecotech Pro. Till next time, this is Restoration Domination. Hustle, hack, dominate.